Welcome to the Dog and Deuce Quick Cast. This is a Utah Jazz playoff edition. We got the guys from Hitting the High Notes joining us to talk a little playoff basketball. Let's hit it. Welcome to the Dog and Deuce Quick Cast, Quick Take. I forgot what it was called for a minute there. James, how you doing, man? First of all, we owe the Golden State Warriors. We owe the Memphis Grizzlies a giant apology because on our last episode, we basically were previewing a Jazz Warriors first round matchup, and boy, was that wrong. How are you feeling? I mean, you were pretty confident in our chances against the Warriors. Real quick, how are you feeling about our chances about the Memphis Grizzlies?
Equally confident. I mean, just think about it. And I mean, I'm sure all the Logan, and Jared remember when we had the plane incident. We flew in the day of without Donovan and smoked him.
True.
So I mean, my confidence is pretty high.
It's hard not to be confident after the way those three games. I mean, it was like a mini series that we played against them earlier in the season. But before we dive too much into it, let's introduce our guest, the boys from the Hitting the High Notes podcast. First of all, Mr. Hu Tran, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining us.
What's up, John? Well, thank you. Very, very proud to be here. I'm very excited. I'm not usually on this side of the microphone, so it's exciting to be here.
Now you just sit back and relax, and you don't have to do any work, man.
Done.
It's a different experience for sure. Also, Mr. Jared, Go the Distance 49 on Twitter. How you doing, my friend?
Good, man. How you doing this fun, wonderful Sunday morning?
Fantastic, dude. It's Jazz playoff day, man. It's like game day. It's like Christmas. We've been waiting all season long for this. Real quick though, Jared, I want to say thank you for leaving us a voicemail last week. I'm sorry I didn't warn you about the time limit on our voicemail. There is a 3-minute time limit. You're not the first one to get caught by it, and you definitely will not be the last. But we appreciate it, man. It gave us some really good talking points. So thanks for contributing.
Oh, hey, glad to, man. Glad to.
And last but not least, we got Logan Cox, Mr. Dragon Squatch on Twitter. What's up, dude? Coming from the state of Idaho. You stoked for Jazz basketball today?
I am. I'm stoked to be here with you guys too. I've been, cramming all night, studying as many Kwame Brown videos as possible to be ready for this unique opportunity. So, my mentor and teacher,
Kwame Brown, man, that's going back. That's going old school days. What about Darko? Remember Darko? Wasn't he drafted before Carmelo?
And That was a rough. That was tricky. He'll go down as one of the greatest busts of all time, right?
Yeah.
So
number 2 after LeBron, before Dwayne Wade, before Carmelo Anthony. Yeah, that was
Chris Bosh, who plays the same position.
Chris Bosh, yeah, that was a rough draft for the Pistons for sure. Okay, first of all, James, dude. How do you think Adam Silver is feeling towards Scott Foster right now? Because he put Scott Foster in that game for one reason and one reason only, and that's to get the Warriors into the playoffs, and he screwed it up. How's he feeling, man?
I mean, look, we're not going to go down the play-in rabbit hole because I'm like outmanned right here. I'm outgunned.
There's two of us. I'm with you.
Oh, you're with, all right, my man.
I'm with you.
They are going to start a fight. Oh no.
but look, if you're a Jazz fan, you have to be exceedingly happy with the result of the play-in tournament. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, as just from a pure basketball perspective, and who knows? I mean, maybe this series will be epic. I tend to doubt it. But any less day that you don't see Steph Curry playing basketball, considering the run he was on, it can't be positive, even if it's against your team. He was clearly tired though. And yeah, Foster does what Foster does. He fails. Epic failure. Probably not going to get a little bonus or however they pay NBA officials. I don't know. I'm like the other four of you, just excited that finally we have a game that could be the start of something special here in Salt Lake City. I'm hoping it is, and I'm excited to watch.
Dude, it has taken so long for us to get to this point. Like, it was a truncated season. It was a short season, but it feels like the last month and a half was just a freaking grind that wouldn't end. So I can't wait. Rather than dive into like game one, because that's what's going on today, you know, who knows when people are going to be listening to this show. Let's kind of dive into the series as a whole. Now, we'll start with you. Obviously the Jazz during the season matched up very well with the Grizzlies. It was, we beat them all 3 times we played them. I think all 3 of those games I think we played them 3 of 4 games. It was a weird little series that we played against them. But what do you think the biggest concern for the Jazz facing the Grizzlies is? What's the key to them taking the series?
Yeah, it was like 3 and like 6 days when I looked at it again. So yesterday I actually went through some of the old footage because I had for work, and the Jazz and Grizzlies actually played 2 close games. Like the first game, the Grizzlies came back from like 20 points down and made it close. And the Donovan list, the play incident game actually was closer than you would think. It was less than 10 points. It went down to the last couple possessions. Mike Conley played really well in that series. Ironically, so same thing on the high notes. We talked about, we really went in on a Utah Golden State series. The ironic thing is that I think the Warriors, 1 through 9 is actually more talented than the Warriors. The Grizzlies were more talented 1 through 9 than the Warriors were. But the Steph Curry factor was huge, right? Like you guys mentioned it, Scott Foster. You just assume the NBA is going to try to push, and maybe subconsciously, it'll be better for Steph Curry to get foul calls. And that's something that you're not going to see in a Utah Memphis series, right? John Morant's probably not going to get more superstar calls than Donovan Mitchell. Memphis seems to be a team that, and no offense, the Memphis team, like they've done a really great, but this is sort of their Super Bowl already. Winning that game against the Warriors, anything after this is now house money. While the Warriors were going to do the we believe thing, Memphis right now, if they get 1 game off the Jazz, that they'll probably exceed their expectations for the season.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like I really want to think the Jazz are going to just dominate and get a sweep or a 5-game, win in 5. But dude, I also thought that the Warriors are going to blow them out in the playoff game. So the playing game. So I don't know what to think. Jared, we got Donovan Mitchell coming back. Is he going to need time to work into the lineup? Like, is it going to screw with our chemistry? Oh, you're muted. Still muted.
Well,
there we go.
He is a ball dominant guard. So, I think he's going to have to work off some rust, but I also hope that, he's just locked in, because I think our whole team has kind of just been hungry for this moment for a couple months now. And you can kind of tell with how, the play has been a little bit more uneven of late. I think the Jazz are gonna try to end this early and as quickly as possible, because they just, they want to skip past these first couple series and just get to the end. Because,
do you feel like
I have to say Jazz in 5, man. I feel I don't. I mean, I know we hemmed and hawed about probably the Warriors being the team, but that was going to be the team that we had to face, because it just seemed a little bit scarier. But these Grizzlies are pretty hungry, so we'll have to see what we can do.
I think, I think you're probably right. And we'll get everyone's predictions down the road, but I'm just worried about Donovan Mitchell coming back. I'm worried about how it's going to affect Borg. I'm worried how it's going to affect the rest of the team. I mean, there's just not enough shots to go around when Donovan Mitchell's in there. And it feels like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like the Jazz seem to gel when they have more time playing with each other. So the fact that now we're throwing Donovan Mitchell back on the court in game 1 of the playoffs, I just hope that we don't need that time to really kind of get readjusted. Logan, let's go with you, man. How do you feel about Donovan Mitchell coming back? Do you think he's going to be able to give us a spark, or are you worried about the chemistry?
No, I think what Jared says, it's a great point. You're touching on the same thing. It is going to be interesting, because he is he requires so much attention and just effort to reintegrate himself. Everyone's been forced to. It feels like it's almost been a month now. This point, I believe, right? It's been quite a while. So I think a team like Memphis is good to kind of, I don't know, I'll try to be good about not being too disrespectful, but it's a chance to kind of get their feet under them, I think, as they try to reintegrate that. And I will do my best, and we'll do our best not to make this a Borg slander podcast, because we always seem to tiptoe into that on the high notes. But I think there is something to be said for, our theory is, have we ever seen Conley, Mitchell, and Bogey play good together at the same time? So there is something to be answered, because, as you know, we'll give credit where credit is due. Bojan has been phenomenal lately. So it'll be interesting to see. And I think Memphis is a little bit more of a less high pressure situation, if that makes sense. It's the playoffs, so I don't really want to lean on that too much, but I think it's a little bit less pressure than if he's already lined up with some star matchup with, Steph Curry from the jump. So I think it just, really getting the 1 seed mattered. And I think that was, we really didn't know. We got into the seeding game and the back and forth and all this different stuff. And I think in the end, it proved to be important. I mean, we never knew it was going to turn out like this, but it's nice to see some karma go our way for not tanking and, just living right.
Dude, you guys, you guys were kind enough to have us on your show about a month or so ago, and we were talking about, it was kind of the end of this, or starting to build towards the end of the season, and we were trying to get through it, and we're talking about kind of gaming the system and whether the Jazz should shoot for the 1 seed or try and go lower, and I think the majority, I don't even remember where we all landed on it, but I think obviously in hindsight, the best decision was to go for the 1 seed, because thank God we don't got to play the Lakers, man. Like, I don't know about you guys, but LeBron James, I don't think the Jazz can beat the Lakers, and I don't want to get too far ahead of our playoff talk here. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but if we would have had to play the Lakers, if we're the 2 seed, we got to play the Lakers. I don't think we get out of that. And so I'm happy about that. I'm actually excited to see their series against the Suns, to see how good the Suns really are. Plus, one of those teams will be eliminated, which will be fun. All right, but James, like, dude, I don't know where you stand on Borg. I don't know, because I know Logan would trade him for a pack of Doritos and 4 purple dildos, but I'm not sure where James, I think you're fine with them, right? Like, you're cool. I mean, he's been the reason the Jazz have hung in there.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's played great over the last month of the season. He's very streaky, and look, all these guys are right. The unique scenario that Donovan Mitchell presents, which we haven't experienced over the last month, is he's a ball dominant player. He wants the ball in his hands. He's not Steph Curry. Like, he's not coming off screens, hitting jumpers. He wants to have the ball in his hands, create for himself and others. And I mean, I think it's pretty much without dispute that when he's in the game with Borg, it seems like Borg is more tentative, at least to me. I don't know if that chemistry has really developed, or if it even can, where, and I don't know if it's a deference thing. I don't know why. I don't know why that doesn't exist, because it doesn't seem to necessarily be the case with other players on the team. But their chemistry / rhythm while they're on the floor hasn't developed to a great level, I guess, at least from my eyes. And it's something that's going to be really interesting. Like, if you think about it from a pure theoretical, obviously it's theoretical. We haven't played a game yet against the Grizzlies in the playoffs. This might be a scenario where you can, if things go well, considering we beat them without Donovan a few times, where you might be able to more gradually, right, incorporate Donovan Mitchell. Whereas if it were a tight, close matchup, which I don't think it would have been against Golden State, you might have had to play more Donovan Mitchell minutes. This might allow him to more gradually. I mean, do you think he'll be on a minute restriction? I don't know.
I think so.
I know it's the playoffs, but do you think he will be?
Go ahead, Jared.
We specifically asked this question of Tony Jones on Twitter, and he said no, they're not going to limit his minutes.
But it sounds like the injury was more severe than we probably thought to start with. Why? I mean, unless they were. What's that?
Yeah, I heard that too, that it was more severe than we thought.
So to me, there's only 2 options. First, one option is it was more severe than we thought, and that he should be on a minutes restriction, or they were resting him for the playoffs, and that's why they wouldn't put him on a minutes restriction. So I don't know what to believe at this point, but I would think if it's as bad as they're saying it was, I would think that they would put him on a minutes restriction.
Well, with as tight-lipped as they are, good luck getting a straight answer out of them.
Yeah, which is the right move, but it's frustrating for us as fans and trying to cover this team. All right, who? I know, like we said, Logan doesn't like Borg. Jared, where do you stand on Borg?
I like Borg, but he needs to assimilate back into the lineup.
Okay, but you're not a Borg hater where you want to trade him for some dildos and lube.
I mean, Logan will trade anything for dildos, so that's unfair.
I mean, four is a steep price, though. I mean, that's top shelf.
That is top shelf. But Jared, you're fine. Like you like him or not like him.
I mean, we had a kind of an interesting talk a couple months ago about do we need a little bit more defense on the wing? I mean, Who and I have been harping on that for like a year. It feels like, and but we also talked about how that if you take away Bojan and you have a little bit less offense. I mean, so that makes the Jazz a little bit less dangerous because when he's on, I mean, that seems like when the Jazz are really able to pour it on and blow teams out. So.
And what about you? Who do you want to trade him for some sex toys and lube, or are you good keeping him and seeing what he can do for us in the playoffs?
To be fair, I would trade a lot of guys for sex toys and lube. I mean,
me too.
And I get the lube. Well, all right. No, so I think the if you listen to High Notes, you probably think we hate on Bojan a lot. Like it's not really hate. It was the Bojan talk that we've always had is like, well, I like what he gives us, but I kind of wish we had something more replicable to what Royce gave us. Someone who could hit open threes and give us an extra wing defender. Teams like the Lakers kind of scare me because I'm like, I think they're going to pick on Bojan. Teams like the Nuggets were picking on Bojan. But maybe, I always like building the possibility that maybe I'm just way wrong and we get to the playoffs and Bojan, Mike, and Donovan play so well. It doesn't matter what happens on the defensive end because the other team can't stop those three and we just score more points than we give up on the other end. And if that's the case, cool. So I wouldn't say I hate Bojan, but.
Oh, we lost him. That's the thing that's frustrating about him is defensively he gives up so much. And then when he sits there and he dribbles in the paint and he dribbles, like that never goes well. That's never not a turnover. And so to me, I don't know. I'm also of the opinion though, because I'm an old school Jazz fan, as we all are. I remember the Ricky Rubio days when we couldn't score. And it's kind of fun that we have a ton of guys that can score now. Like to me, like James loves defense. Like he loves this 0-0 draw in soccer because he just loves defense. But for me, I am, I can only watch defense so much before I'm pulling my hair out because I want to see some scoring. And so to me, when we put up 150 against the Kings or whatever it was, dude, that's fun, man. So I'm all for it. What, and we'll start with you, James. What, if anything, and this is if anything, what scares you about the Grizzlies?
I mean, look, anytime you're playing a playoff series, and this is the beauty of the NBA, right? Like it's a series, one game, even today. Like, and I maintain, pardon me, what I said about the Warriors. Like, if the Jazz are likely to lose a game, I think it's game one. All the momentum, at least from from what the Grizzlies have achieved in the play-in, beating the Warriors, is in their corner. The Jazz have sort of been sitting back, waiting for their opponent. They're inserting Donovan Mitchell, and frankly, we don't know how that looks. Like it's almost hard for me to remember what the Jazz look like with Donovan Mitchell because he's been out for so long. Like I know what he brings to the table. So for me, like it's not about fearing the Grizzlies. It's more about will the Jazz be able to get back and work in full stride as a unit. I mean, I think no matter how good you think Donovan Mitchell is, I think there are going to be maybe a game or quarters where you can clearly see, and then I hope I'm wrong, but I think there's going to be some growing pains as he works his way back in. And like the minute restriction, like I don't think they know. Like I really don't. Like his ankle could be good and he could go, but it also could present issues that he hasn't encountered because he hasn't played a full game, right? Like practice, scrimmage, one-on-one, whatever he's doing on the side, that's all fine and dandy, and it can get you to a certain level as far as being prepared to play a game. But this is the playoffs. It's going to be more physical. The Grizzlies are not shy about being physical. I mean, they got Dylan Brooks, they got Valanciunas. Like if Donovan's going to the rack, I wouldn't be surprised if they put him on his butt. Like we're talking old school NBA. You got to test it out, not flagrant or violent or intentionally trying to hurt him, but you got to test out his willingness to go get it, so to speak. So for me, it's not really fearing the Grizzlies. It's wondering if the Jazz can incorporate Donovan back in a way where we see growth throughout the series, right? Like it's going to be growing pains, but I need to see it continue to get back to a level where you can be confident in what they bring to the table in the next round, should we be so fortunate to beat them.
Let's just go around the table here. How about you, Who? Is there anything about the Grizzlies that makes you a little nervous? Uh-oh, we lost him. No audio. All right, Jared, we'll go back to Who, but Jared, what about you?
Well, I mean, to me, the wild card is in this series is Triple J, Jared Jackson Jr. or Jaren Jackson Jr. I mean, he's just a really super talented player who I was fortunate enough to watch in the Utah Jazz Summer League a few years ago, and just he's been rounding into form here as he came back towards the end of the season, and he's a shooting big who can draw Rudy away from the paint. I mean, it'd be really interesting to see if the Grizzlies put him at center, to mess with that matchup a little bit, see what they can do. I'm kind of interested to see what the Grizzlies look like in a playoff series because they haven't been in the playoffs for a while. So
yeah, dude, same. I'd like to, especially with a young talent like Ja Morant and some guys who you can feel the hunger with them, and it's fun to see teams like that are that young and that hungry, but can be scary sometimes because they got nothing to lose at this point. No one's picking them. No one wants it. No one's expecting them to do anything. So you never know. I never trust a man who has nothing to lose. All right, Who? Let's try you again. See if that audio's working. Nope, not working. Damn. All right, Logan, how about you, man? Is there anything about the Grizzlies that makes you nervous?
I love that we're checking all of our generic podcast, our high notes things. We've got the bogey hate. We got Jared's love for Triple J. We're doing all of our things. I think outside of the rage that Dylan Brooks and Grayson Allen caused that may force me to ruin every watching device in my house, that can be tricky to watch those two together in a playoff series.
So true.
But in all seriousness, I think I'm with James. I actually do think that there's something to say for the Triple J piece that wasn't involved. So Jared's got an excellent point there too. But I think it's more about what the Jazz do and how the Jazz choose to handle and interpret it. And on a larger level, I think it's the key to the whole playoff run is, do the Jazz decide to do their thing or do they let themselves get sucked into other people's game? And that really could be the separator from my perspective. But
looks like Who? Let's see if you are back. I heard you testing your mic.
Test.
Oh, we got you, dude. We got you.
All right. 3, 2. Yeah. So I think Logan Alan, you hit it on the head there. That a team that has nothing to lose is scary, right? So this team, really, they win one game, they got a lot of confidence. If they win 2 games, all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, we can do this." The whole we believe thing. Gets a lot more.
Oh, you know what? Hold on 1 second. Let's see. We got you. All right, try that now.
Okay. Anyway, a team that if they win 1 or 2 games, all of a sudden they get a lot more confidence. They think they have this "we believe in them." So that's pretty scary. Valanciunas has been a big key for them. He's a strong guy. He's somebody that you think could really push Rudy around because like the guy's really built, right? So we'll see. I don't see them taking him off the court a lot because I mean he was the key for them in San Antonio. He was the key for them in Golden State. The Jazz should match up pretty well with them, but we didn't see Triple J when the Jazz played him. Dylan Brooks in the last month or two became a real tough defender. And the thing is that he wasn't really known as a tough defender until like the last like few games. Got a lot of national exposure. The thing about defense is sometimes it's reputation. The referees go, oh, is Patrick Beverley the greatest defender ever? Maybe not, but he has a reputation of being one, and so he doesn't foul out a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? You get a lot of respect when you get the reputation of being a pesky defender. I mean, Donovan did average like 30 some points on the Grizzlies the 2 games that they played, but I mean, it was weird. It was weird to play a team three times in 6 days. So I'm a little scared of the Grizzlies, but I'm pretty confident the Jazz could win in 4, probably 4.
You know what the weirdest thing to me about that little mini series we played against them in the middle of the year was that I walked out of that series not hating the Grizzlies. Usually when you play a team that often, you just walk out of that series despising them. And so I didn't at all. I actually found myself respecting them a lot more, respecting their fan base. So it'll be interesting to see how we feel at the end of this series. To me, there are 2 things that the Grizzlies do really well is they score in the paint, and Rudy's going to have his hands full. He's going to have to be on every single game, and he may be so exhausted by defending that paint that I don't know how much offensive output he's going to have. But more than anything, I'm worried about their transition offense because the Jazz have not been good getting back on their transition defense. So to me, that's the one thing. I think Ja Morant, he's going to get his. I think, they're so young that I'm not sure. I have a hard time putting a lot of faith in young teams who don't have a whole lot of playoff experience. So I'm not sure how well they're going to do, but to me, it's going to be fun. You just got to stop in transition. So I got 2 more questions for you guys, and then we'll let you bail because you guys have given up a lot of your Sunday for us. First of all, let's get the predictions. James, we'll start with you. Prediction. What do you think this series? You think the Jazz are going to win? I take it. How many games?
I mean, if it goes more than 5, I would be surprised. The Jazz have a built-in benefit. I mean, they sort of in March played a mini playoff series, right? Like you mentioned, like you didn't come away hating them, but they're very familiar to play this team and multiple times in a short stretch. And while all the points mentioned by everyone on the show are valid, like for me, it really comes down to this. Like, I don't think if the Jazz are even in the ballpark offensively of what we've experienced all year, that the Grizzlies can keep up. I mean, they don't shoot the 3 well. They're going to have to go in the paint, which, and depending on how the foul situation works, if Rudy's, out of the game because he's in foul trouble, that then they have an opportunity to be a little more, run a little more wild in the paint, so to speak. So, I mean, 5 max, I wouldn't be surprised to see a sweep. All the points presented are good. It seems like, given the lack of playoff experience and the way the Jazz finished the season without Donovan Mitchell, that they're in a pretty good position to win the series.
So you got Jazz in 5.
At worst, yeah.
At worst.
It's hard to predict a sweep, right? I can never predict a sweep because you don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if we sweep them, but
it's hard to beat
expectation.
Yeah, it's hard to beat any team that many times in a row. All right, what about you?
I am going to predict the sweep. Jazz, because you know what? I'm tired of same old Jazz, right? Same old Jazz would drop one of these games because the Jazz, game 3 decide not to step on the gas, or, and step on the throat. I mean, it's crazy because that would mean the Jazz went 7-0 against the Grizzlies this year. But you know what? I believe this team has a chance to be special. Everything is lined up, quote unquote, lined up the right way for the Jazz. So, I'm gonna say Jazz in 4.
All right, Jared. We got Jazz in 5, Jazz in 4. What about you?
I'm gonna say Jazz in 5, just because Donovan might be a little bit rusty, and we drop a game by a couple points.
All right, Logan.
I'm going to stick with my online prediction and Jazz in 3. I think after 3 games of getting throttled, Memphis just decides not to show up and play anymore.
Makes sense.
But I think, we talk a lot about how, the Jazz and have they played close games and against good opponents. I think Memphis is the one rare team that they actually have that falls into the good category that we did play, some close games with, as who pointed out. They may not have always finished closely, but we had some decent battles with them. We found a way to come out on top. And we do love the cliche answers. It's hard to beat the same team a bunch of times in a row, but I think the Jazz have this is the rare exception in the playoffs. So I think the Jazz have the clear cut experience advantage, and we may be equal or behind that as the playoffs go. But this is the one case, as James pointed out, we've got the knowledge and we've got the experience over Memphis. And I think we'll be able to close out these games. I don't think that they get one.
All right, we got 2 sweeps. Well, one like a super sweep, we'll call it that, and we got 2 Jazz in 5. I'm going to go Jazz in 5 as well. I hate to do it because it sounds like that's kind of the popular thing, but the Grizzlies are young, man, and as we all know, playoff basketball is much different than regular season basketball, and I think that is. I agree with you, James. I think the Grizzlies might get game 1 if they're going to get one, just because they're very hungry. They're coming off that high of the Golden State win. And I could see them just playing their hearts out. But man, it's also in Salt Lake, dude. That we're going to have a ton of fans in the stands. It's playoff basketball is just different. It's just so much different. And unless you've been in it, it's really hard to prepare yourself for it. But I'm going to go Jazz in 5 just to kind of save, just to kind of hedge my bet a little bit. Last thing, guys. Do you guys have any superstitions? I'm a superstitious person. It drives me crazy. I absolutely hate it. James, you're not really a superstitious person, right?
I mean, relative. I'm not competing, so if I were playing, it might be different. It's funny. I'm interested to see where you take this, because I saw a tweet this morning that does give me pause for concern from the organization it came from. It's like the kiss of death.
Wait, what?
Well, the New York Mets tweeted good luck to Donovan Mitchell.
Oh, God.
And if you're a baseball fan and know anything about history of the New York Mets, while I'm not overly superstitious, I wish they would have kept that one in their back pocket. I don't want to hear anything from the New York Mets about basketball.
If you're listening to the audio of this podcast and you're not watching on YouTube, the look on everyone's faces as soon as he said that was just like, oh God. We all put our faces in our hands because that's just not good. That's a bad thing. Well, that sucks. All right. What about you, Jared? Do you have any superstitions? You breaking out any lucky shirts? Are you doing anything like that for the game tonight?
I'm not very superstitious at all. So,
dude, how do you do that? And I'm guessing who is not superstitious either, because as he said on your podcast on Hitting the High Notes, he has no soul when it comes to this. When it comes to he doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. So I'm guessing he doesn't have any superstitions.
I'm not superstitious. I'm a little stitious, but I hate putting things into the universe, So we were talking about Warriors all last week, and my personal thought was I really don't understand the love for the Warriors. They had Jordan Poole and Kayvon Looney starting. I was like, guys, I get it. There's a lot of PTSD out there, and I troll the Jazz fans sometimes. But I was just like, the Warriors are really I think I said Jazz over Warriors in 5, because I just wasn't that worried about them. So, but I also was like, boy, if I say this on the podcast and the Warriors come back and beat the Jazz or whatever, I'm going to look really stupid. And maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the bad luck guy. Maybe I'm the jinx. Maybe I'm putting that bad juju in the world. So
it's the media personality in you.
I kind of wish I knew we're on YouTube. I probably would have done my hair. Whoops.
No, you look great, man. You got
Logan
those guns
gave your hair
flashing.
a great plug before we started. So
is it a Facebook catalog? I don't know how any of this stuff works. I don't speak social media, but you got some dedication to your hair somewhere on the socials.
I do. You're right.
Is it on Facebook?
I do have an album dedicated to when my hair was super long.
It's right next to it. This next year's QAnon one, I believe. I think that next year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you know, join my Facebook for more conspiracy theories. I will play up whatever conspiracy theory gets me laid. So, lizard people, sure. Flat Earth, yep.
Did you nickname your hair the Storm?
The Storm, I should. Oh, damn. There is the gray and black in it. Yeah, you're right.
The coming
right.
Storm.
Yeah. I'd seen Who forever. When I saw him again for the first time and he turned into the silver fox, I was like, "What? Gosh, he's gorgeous. You just want to run your hands through that salt and pepper."
Sexy. All right, Logan, are you a superstitious guy? Do you have anything going on special that you need to do for the game?
Like you said, to reference back to the dildos, I think we're going to give the Purple Passion a try and see if this is the one. You got to set things out and see if they go with the flow. Certainly. Now this year with the Jazz, I don't have anything. It's weird because sometimes with certain teams you get something, it just happens to hit once, and you make those connections. Like when my Broncos won some Super Bowls, I had a lucky hat. I haven't found anything Jazz wise though, so I have to go digging through the drawers and see if they get a win. We'll make that our lucky go-to thing. But I keep saying, like James said, I'm on like repeat. If I was playing a sport, there's all kinds of weird stuff I'll do. But like as far as watching, it's I think whose soullessness is like rubbed off on me. I used to worry about like saying stuff like this, like predicting a sweep or saying the Jazz are going to win. Like you get really nervous about it. But like now it's like, okay, it's not real. It doesn't matter. But
yeah,
that's part of me dying inside. So
for follow at Dragon Squatch online. If you have a Jazz Speedo, to give him as a superstition, he will wear it proudly on every playoff game day.
That's true.
A Jazz banana hammock? Are you kidding me? That can't not be lucky. There's no way.
As long as it's got Bojan's face on the front, we'll be good to go.
Nice. Well, I'm taking a risk because this year, every time I've worn Jazz gear on game day, we've lost. Well, not every time, but we've lost more often than we've won, way more often. So I'm taking a risk. I'm wearing my Jazz shirt, and I don't feel very comfortable about it. So if the Jazz drop the game tonight, you can put the blame squarely on me, and I will never wear another piece of Jazz gear ever again. All right, to wrap it up, I'm gonna give you the honors, man. Where do we find your podcast, and where do we find you online?
Go follow Hitting the High Notes Jazz Talk. It's on Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, I don't know, Apple Plus TV, wherever you find podcasts. I have no idea where podcasts are anymore. So I'm pretty sure we're on a lot of platforms. You can listen to us on Stitcher and stuff. You can follow my trolling Jazz thoughts on at Jazz High Notes on the Twitterverse. That's at Jazz High Notes.
Jared, how about you? Where can we find you on social?
Well, I run the Jazz High Notes Facebook, which is also just Jazz High Notes. And yeah, I don't do a very good job with that because Facebook is just not my platform of choice.
Facebook is awful.
But
Facebook
you can find me. Yeah.
Sorry,
Facebook
go ahead.
Hey, it's a necessary evil, right?
The only reason I'm on it is just to promote this show. That's literally the only reason I'm on it, and it's just a cesspool of garbage.
And then on Instagram and Twitter, you can find me at GoTheDistance49.
All right, Logan, how about you, my friend?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Mark2s and 3s. No, it's the only social I have is the Twitter. So just at Dragon Squatch, and that's where you may not get all the breaking Jazz stuff you wanted. It's such a tricky platform to have nuanced discussion in. So there's a lot more inappropriate humor, like you said. So, but it's enjoyable. You gotta have something to break up all of the sky is falling and the infighting that takes place. So
it's nice.
I'll sit on the side and just make jokes. That's what we do, just like high school, right? So.
Well, it's kind of what we need on Twitter. We need more of that. It's too serious. And then we'll post links to the Hitting the High Notes podcast, to all your guys' social stuff over at doganddeuce.com in the show notes for this quick cast, this quick takes. James, you are, as always, you're controlling our show Twitter handle at doganddeuce. I remember years ago I tried to get you on Facebook and you were not having it, and it looks like you're the smart one on this one.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's a nice compliment.
I don't tell you you're right often enough. So in this case, because you're not right.
So rarity, I think I just had a minor heart attack.
Yeah, I didn't know how to handle it. I saw the shock,
unusual situation.
the state of shock that was on your face when I said that. I know. I am at a Martindale Film. Give us all a follow. Again, head over to dogandjuice.com. Links to Hitting the High Notes. Great podcast. Guys, thanks for having us on your show a little while ago. And thanks for coming on our show to talk about some Jazz playoff basketball. We'll get you guys on again. We'll get a kind of a rotating cast of guests and characters. You guys are always a lot of fun. These guys are great follows, so hit them up on social media. In the meantime, enjoy your Jazz playoff basketball. I can't believe it's here. I don't think I expressed how freaking excited I am. It's going to be a lot of fun. So let's bring on that title, man. Go Jazz. All right. We'll see you on Thursday. Later.